Good morning. Thank you all for joining us for the impromptu Fire Safe Council meeting on November 18th, 2021. And so we're here today. We have one item on the agenda, which is to talk about the Title III funding and to request letters of support and discuss our project. So I'm going to start with one that was emailed to me, and then we can go from there. So one that was emailed to me, which is from the Southern Trinity Volunteer Fire Department. This is from Gene Lombardo, and he's the chair of the Southern Trinity Volunteer Fire Department. They're requesting $3,000, which would be to cover the cost of their RT-130 fire line safety trainings for 2022. So at this point in time, I just want to ask, does anybody have any questions about that, their request, and then we can determine if we want to support it with a letter or not.
It seems to me they should ask for more money to do some work for the people in the Southern Trinity community. So, but if they don't want that or have the capacity, then that's a whole other story. So.
I know that they're still trying to sort out their Fire Safe Council versus their VFD and how it's coordinated and who hosts it. And but I can reach out to them. Would we all agree that if they choose to increase to work on doing some of that work, that we would support it and provide them with a letter of support for both their RT-130 fire line safety training and and some additional fuel reduction work if they're interested in that? Carol says yes. Todd, do we have your audio?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I would hope they've exhausted all other funding sources to try to fund that class. It seems like there's a lot of different avenues out there besides the Title III one to have class funding. And I don't know, my thoughts would always be it'd be nice to try to keep the focus on fuel reduction in our county. But I mean, if there's no other way for them to get that, obviously it's important, but I know there is other ways to get it. And that's just my thoughts.
Okay, I was wondering too, Todd, and maybe you can provide some more input on this. I think there were some issues. I don't know if it was with theirs or with one of the other volunteer fire departments in the South with how they were doing their refreshers and their training, and that it wasn't up to standard. And so I just didn't know if this was going to perpetuate that issue, and whether
I'm not sure on that, but I know the focus this year for the Trinity County Cal Fire training wintertime training contract is basically going to be covering all the bases for the RT-130. So I mean, maybe we need to get a little more clarification from Cal Fire, but all the correspondence I've had with their training officer is that's basically the course he's going to be running free of charge this winter. And he makes his rounds to every Trinity County Fire Department that participates. So I don't know, it just seems weird that we would fund something that it sounds like they're going to get for free anyway this winter.
What do you think about that, Carol?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me. I agree with Todd. Dave Johnson's supposed to be doing that training for all the fire departments this winter. So I don't know if he's contacted them or not.
I know he's reached out to every department, and it may be something that we see on some of these outlying real rural departments to where one board member may have an idea of a direction and a chief might already have, communication set up with the Cal Fire training and going in that route, and maybe they're just not communicating. So maybe we just need to double check with Southern Trinity, not only the board member that's requesting this, but the chief, Melanie, to see if they're all on the same page, because for sure they're getting a lot of this for free this winter.
I
Yeah,
am happy to do that. So we have some new members that we haven't had participate before. So Basho and Blaze, if you'd like to introduce yourselves and identify who you're representing.
Yeah, hi, good morning. I am from Willow Creek, and I represent, in this capacity at least this morning, the Lower Trinity River Prescribed Burn Association, as newly formed last week. So we are excited to be a part of the conversation and just listening in and making our presence known. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I think you muted yourself, Blaze.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I'm also here from Willow Creek. I'm just listening in, wanting to get a feel for what you guys are doing. So yeah, excited to be here.
Welcome. We're happy to have you guys present, and we hope that you guys keep participating in our other Fire Safe Council meetings. Thank you for joining us.
Well, good.
Okay. Okay, so I will follow up with Melanie and Jean and touch base to see if they are going to be receiving this for free. If they are not, for some reason, do we want to support their request for a Title III and send them a letter of support? Carol, I think you're frozen on my screen, so I can't see if you're saying anything.
I'm just thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with, it seems likely that they can get the training through CAL FIRE. They may have to travel if to go over to Hayfork or something, and so then I don't know if we just give them a little bit of money for reimbursing for mileage or something, but it does seem like they should be able to take advantage of the CAL FIRE training.
Yeah, I agree too, and I know for a fact that Dave goes out to their department 4 to 5 times a season to deliver that training, and he drives all the way out there. So I don't know. I guess of course, I'm always supportive of helping the departments train, but like I said, I think there's better avenues, and I think they're going to get all this for free this winter anyway. So maybe clarification from them that they realize they're getting this for free would be the best route to go.
Okay, sounds good. I will follow up with that. So with that, let's move. Todd, do you want to go next with any proposal you guys have from the Weaverville Volunteer Fire Department?
Sorry, you're kind of cutting out. What was the question?
Do you have a proposal from the Weaverville Volunteer Fire Department?
Yeah, we do, and it's pretty carbon copy from years past. The only thing that kind of changes is when we all meet and agree. I know it seems like there's a little more money this year, and I mean it's going to be the same proposal. We're running the same program. I'm really glad it's just getting refunded, because we don't have a lot of avenues with the logistical means that we have to really get any other kind of funding. With how we're able to back it up, we can't really get into the realm of CEQA and stuff like you guys can do. So this is kind of our main bread and butter funding for our hazard reduction program that we go. So we definitely have a proposal. It's definitely like years past. The only difference would be fair ask on the funding part in agreement with the rest of the group of what everybody else is asking for.
Okay, so still up to debate how much you guys want to ask for.
Correct.
Do you have a rough estimate? I'm just kind of keeping a tally as everybody goes through so that I can see where we are at the end of the day.
In the past, I think we've always, it's changed obviously based on how much they release and how many people are asking, but in the past it's been between, you know, $25,000 to $32,000, and we always seem to go through that money. But it would probably be somewhere close to that. If there's less people asking and there's more money, then obviously we would request a little bit more. But if that's the fair ask and the fair split between all parties interested, then that's the ballpark of where we'd be in that realm.
Amelia, what's the total amount that they've set? It's like 192. 992.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite a lot this year.
It's
Okay.
like double.
Okay, I put a rough 35,000 in there for you right now, and we can adjust that as we go forward. Carol, do you want to go next? Do you have go back to a letter of support for the Weaverville Volunteer Fire Department. Does everybody support their request to seek additional funding for their hazard reduction program, which funds local youth and also young adults to complete fuel reduction throughout Weaverville, Junction City, Douglas City, and Lewiston, which are the mutual aid districts, which also looks to aid and support seniors, disabled, and elderly and low income individuals within those communities.
Yes, definitely.
Yep.
Okay, I'm seeing resounding nods and yeses, so we will approve that letter of support.
Thank you.
All right, so Carol, do you have a proposal from Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department?
Yeah, I do. So we want to do essentially two things. They're tied together, and it's both under the Firewise community activities. So we want to have a community chipping day. So that would focus this time on the Knolls, Trinity Meadows, and Swift Creek, which is a different geographic area than we've done in the past. But essentially, we're just going to try to fund a crew to come up and just do chipping, not cutting, but just chipping. We want the landowners to do the cutting. So I have an estimate of $2,000 for that. And it would be the RCD or the Watershed Center if either of them were available, or a private contractor. Then we have $700 in stuff. Essentially, we want $325 for a ranch gate for one of our fire lines. SPI let us put in some fire lines around Trinity Center for the river complex, but in order for us to keep them, we have to gate them. So we want to buy a gate. And then we want to have a fire safe home demonstration day. We have 3 locations picked out where we would do one home with defensible space, one building with a home hardening demo, and then one building that has a sprinkler system. Is the OOF hall, which is a county building. We want to install some of the fire resistant vents and do some landscaping with the 5-foot non-compostable zone around the OOF hall. Have the community do all the work, see what it looks like to do installing vents and doing the non-compostable dollars worth of vents and gravel and landscape pavers. So it's a total of $2,700 that we would be requesting, and we would be describing, how the community would be. The fire department's going to do our usual fire safe home stuff with all our handouts and brochures and you know, free hot dogs and all that stuff. So we're hoping, that's my proposal.
That sounds great, Carol. Does anyone have any questions for Carol?
Do you need any funds to maintain those fire lines, Carol? Or are they just gonna be good for the next couple of years?
So they're dozer lines, they're single track dozer lines. So they're both an evacuation line from Trinity Center to Highway 3. And so, yeah, we can maintain those with a dozer. And that's why SPI wants them gated, because people can drive on them and they don't want people driving on them through their property.
Who would be doing the maintaining, the annual maintaining of these?
So we have, we have volunteers at the fire department that have access to heavy equipment. And so, and the guy who put them in was a volunteer up here who owns a farm and has a big dozer. He put them in with his cat. So I don't think we're gonna have any trouble getting a volunteer to maintain them.
Okay.
All the fire lines that we put in around Trinity Center for the river complex were done by just the volunteers. The Forest Service didn't do any of that.
All right, do we have a consensus to provide a letter of support to the Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department for their $2,700 ask for their Firewise activities, community chipping, including a Firewise event, and improving their IU hall to make a demonstration of the vents and also the 3 to 5 foot non-combustible space around a building?
Yes.
Fantastic. And Carol, would you like Todd to sign this as the vice chair, or would you like to sign this?
Yeah, I'd love to have Todd sign it.
Okay.
I do know when we tried in the past, we haven't actually attached the letter. We just said that it was supported by the Fire Safe Council. So we could go either way.
Okay. Sounds good. Watershed Research and Training Center, Xander, do you want to discuss your proposal? I do have it in front of me, but if you're ready to speak to it, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I recently got brought into this, but it'll be pretty much a continuation of the same project that the Watershed's done in the past with community dooryard and defensible space chipping in both Hayfork and High and Palm areas for properties that are deemed to be a priority by the respective volunteer fire departments. And this year, it looks like we're trying to add on noxious weed component to that to be able to properly remove of those species of invasive plants that kind of promote, fire spread. So we'll be able to get some funding to identify those areas and then dispose of those plants properly, because a lot of times you can't just chip them. So in the past, the funds requested for the chipping was about $35,000 for both communities. And the number that I've got to request for the noxious weeds is an additional 10 to 15,000. So it'll be a total of 45 to 50,000 that the Watershed's going to request. We're still working on the specifics in the proposal, but get that over in the next couple of work days here. Any questions about that?
Do you guys have any thoughts on including Southern Trinity instead of just Hayfork and High and Palm, just because of your proximity to them versus us with our chipping and stuff?
That has not been brought up, but I will do that.
I
Thanks for
think,
the input.
yeah, if possible, it would be ideal for you to just also include Southern Trinity into that opportunity, just geographically where you guys are, so.
I agree. And I think we're planning to add a second chipper to the fleet this winter. So
You want,
as well as additional crews to be able to run it. So I think that may be a definite possibility to add Southern Trinity in also. Any other questions?
So if you would add in Southern Trinity, that would increase your ask, or your ask would stay about the same?
I would imagine it would have to increase, but I will get back to you on that. I can't say for sure.
Okay. Okay. So, and Xander, just a little bit of how this, just so that you kind of understand, is that since I think this is your first time here, so we just are kind of totaling up what everybody's asking and then kind of adjusting a little bit from there too.
Sure.
So do we have overall consensus of support to provide a letter of support for the Watershed Research and Training Center to work on community chipping into defensible space within Hayfork and High and Palm, with a potential to expand into Southern Trinity, also looking to treat noxious weeds for, at this point in time, approximately $50,000?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so I would just say, if we get back to Southern Trinity and say, you know, there's actually money for training, you know, that, well, there's actually training provided through CAL FIRE, and so you don't need to ask for that money. And they decide to ask separately for community chipping, I just want to make sure that there's not overlap, you know, that then the budgets get adjusted accordingly.
Okay. That's doable.
So for clarity, who will be contacting Southern Trinity, and is my understanding right that it's their volunteer department that has the existing request for training? Will one of you be able to contact them to make sure that there's not any job overlap?
Yes, Xander, I will do that. And I'll also CC you and Dylan as we go through that, so that you're included in that conversation.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I'll agree to resounding support, and we will move into the TCRCD's request. So we are similarly in the $50,000 range. So we're looking to do countywide. We're looking to go behind if we can get the vegetation management ordinance put in place. And so we'd be looking to address areas that are outside where Weaverville is doing their work, outside where the Watershed Research and Training Center are doing their work. And so we would be able to go behind and do any of the vegetation management ordinance response. So if the vegetation ordinance is enforced, then we can go behind and provide free service to complete that. Also looking to just be able to provide a defensible space and community chipping to people that call up and are outside any of our pre-existing defined project areas throughout the county. We currently don't have any funding to do that. And so we're looking to really address the people that call on a regular basis and are looking for work, and we don't have the funding to do that for them at this point in time. So with this, we're also building in noxious weeds at the tune of about $10,000 to treat some of the noxious weeds in the Northern Trinity area, also within the Weaverville Community Forest. We'd like to get some funding to help support our fire extinguishers and our first aid materials that support our crews on an annual basis. And then also get funding for the CPR and first aid for our crews. It's hard for us to get that funded in other ways. And so that's what we're looking for. Our total as of right now is $49,826.23. That includes 100 hours for the program managers. So for Chris and myself to coordinate meetings with private landowners for me to do the Firewise communities renewal next year. It's also going to have time for the project coordinators such as Dave and Maya to do some education. So we'll be able to, and we'll offer this not only for us, but to showcase the work that you guys are doing. If you send us the pictures, we'll do a nice spread in the Conservation Almanac. We also built in funding for advertisements. So if we want to do a group advertisement to say the Watershed Center is, and if the VFD is interested in, either of the VFDs are interested in this as well, but you know, these projects are going on, contact these people if you want to be participating in them in the paper. And then we have, so 10 days for the cruise. With the cruise alone are $13,000. We have mileage built into them to be able to travel to some of these further locations. We do get requests from downriver and far up north. So we have some mileage built in for them to visit those locations. And then we have our chippers, chainsaws, and then our camera daily rate to take pictures. So that gives us our $49,826.23. So right in that $50,000 range.
So
Does anyone?
Does that overlap the community chipping request from the Title II rack? That's another grant application, right?
Yes, but this one's more geared at providing, so that's specifically community chipping, whereas this is more providing the action of doing the saw work, doing the limbing, where that is strictly, that's the community chipping where they're just going to go and stack pre-existing piles. This is providing days for the crew to actually go do that for seniors, disabled, low income as well. And we'd be sure to, if it's in the Weaverville or Lewiston or Junction City, try to coordinate with Weaverville Volunteer Fire Department if they're able to do it as well, so that we're not double dipping there.
I think too, Carol, there's potential for like a little bit of overlap in that, yeah, for chipping and stuff, but typically every year we run out of money for community chipping. Like we always run out. So
That's why I put in for a community chipping day in case you ran out again.
Yeah, it's a hot commodity. Oh, so we had someone new join us, but I want to finish this. So do we have any more questions on this project? Okay. At this point in time, do we have overall consensus and support for approximately $50,000 for Trinity County Resource Conservation District to support their defensible space work, as well as Firewise community renewals, as well as first aid CPR training for their crews and some supplemental first aid and fire extinguishers for their crews?
Good to me.
Okay, I'm seeing some nods. I'm going to take that as a yes. And so, Carly Shelton, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning. I'm Carly Shelton, and I live in Salyer and am part of the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council.
Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
Carly, does the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council anticipate putting in an application for any of the Title III RAC funding from Trinity County?
I don't know if I'm really qualified to answer very many questions about that, but maybe Basha or Blaze can, or know more.
Okay.
Blaze and I were elected to the board of directors of the Fire Safe Council in November, but have been informed that our capacity as such does not commence until official December meeting. And a lot of information will probably cascade our way at that time, but officially and formally, we're not that representation right now. So I apologize.
So for to help you get up to speed, in the past, Willow Creek Fire Safe Council has applied to help fund their community chipping program for the personnel to go and complete that in your Fire Safe Council district.
So is there someone that we should be asking? Is it Barbara Darst or somebody like that that's on the current board that would know?
Yes. I mean, we're in a huge transitional point right now. Joe O'Hara, our president, died of a heart attack 2 weeks ago, among other things. So there's a lot in flux. So we just ask for a little bit more patience and maybe another month of grace period before we can actually formalize any application. But we'll try to fast track that as soon as possible, and maybe talk to Barb this afternoon about anything that's currently in process with y'all.
Okay. So this
Go ahead, Amelia. Explain the time frame. You got it.
yeah, so the application for this is due on December 2nd, and then to the Trinity County Administrative Office. And then at the Board of Supervisors meeting on December 22nd, they will discuss the proposal. So if you're interested in getting a letter of support from the Trinity County Fire Safe Council to support any proposal that you may put in, we would need to do that today. And that's why we've called this special meeting. So if it's of interest to you, even if you don't have a ballpark number as to what you may apply for, I think now would be a good time to, like, if you want to use it for your community chipping, if you'd like to bring in more money for that, if you'd like to bring in money for, Firewise days or anything like that, we could look at supporting you in those efforts.
Absolutely. I spoke with Dylan Sheedy yesterday at length about South Fork Road, Hennessy, and Burnt Ranch, West County, Trinity County projects that are currently part of your 2020 CWPP. One of the bottleneck complications that he alluded to was just the logistics of transporting your Hayfork crews 3 hours one way in order to perform that work. With that in mind, I also let him know that myself and Galen Stevens and Blair Rowley here in Willow Creek have created a Adaptive Forestry Solutions LLC and bought a 12-inch chipper in order to facilitate these projects a little bit more from a civilian empowerment and private sector capacity. So please do keep that in mind moving forward. We will have a contractor licensure as well as Arbor certification. Just to let you know that there will be some kind of crew capacity on this end in your West County projects, if that's something that is needed. Boots on the ground.
Asho, you should really, my name is Kelly Sheen. I'm the district manager for the Trinity County RCD. You probably really should connect with Chris Cole, who's on this call, because we do a lot more work downriver, Sawyer, Hawkins Bar kind of area. We do a lot of that same sort of work that the Watershed Center does. And if they, it's true, they have a real tough time with the drive time, to get to where you guys are. So it's something that we typically do a little bit more of. So maybe some coordination with Chris, we can help you out there.
Absolutely. I mean, we're willing to work with anybody. That we're local and we're passionate about this conversation and our intent on providing communities for our children and grandchildren to return to far into the future. So this is our priority, and we're just going to be building capacity and crew numbers from here on out.
Awesome.
So Basho, Blaze, and Carly, I put my email address and also Chris's email address in the chat. If you email me so that I can get your emails, I'll make sure that you're included in all of our future meeting notifications and all of that. I just need to get your email address to get you in the loop.
Perfect, will do.
So I have two things. One is one of the past Title III grants, to Willow Creek Fire Safe Council was to pay for a chipper. So somewhere, I believe that the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council already has a chipper that that we paid for. Hopefully it's still functional.
And
secondly,
I just saw Regina Moon pop on. She may be able to just talk to that.
well, the other suggestion I had is I'd really like to, you know, provide them some assistance. So why don't we pick a number, you know, like $5,000, $10,000 and put it in there as a placeholder and let them kind of work with Chris and the current Fire Safe Council board members and see, you know, what they would like to propose.
Yeah, that's a great starting point. The Willow Creek chipper in 13 years of ownership has 250 hours total on it. Mostly because of the liability insurance that surrounds the operation of it. Members of the Fire Safe Council are allowed to feed the chipper from piles made by homeowners that are in the streets. And so it's a very limited scale and scope of operational capacity that we are trying to address within the organization. But these are kinds of conversations that need to happen in order for that chipper to be much more utilized moving forward. So a $10,000 stipend for that program would be fantastic. We have over 13 people on a chipper program list that have been begging for help since late September. Again, it's the capacity on the ground that is the problem. We are an organization of volunteers with families and income, you know, complexities that mean that we cannot devote 40 to 60 hours a week to chip strictly for the elderly of our community. So those are conversations that we're having with the leadership and the Fire Safe Council in order to provide solutions.
Hi, Regina. Thank you for joining us. And Dina Magdaliano, welcome. Dina, are you also with the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council, or are you with a different organization?
No, I'm with the Sanangway tribe in Trinity County.
Oh, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this point in time, so what we're looking at with taking out Southern Trinity Volunteer Fire Department's $3,000. So I've done two things. So Weaverville Volunteer Fire Department, I increased your request to $50,000 to match what the RCD and the Watershed Research and Training are currently proposed at. And the other thing that I did is increase the Watershed Research and Training Center to include Southern Trinity, approximately another $15,000, which still puts our total ask with the $10,000 for Willow Creek at $87,700. So that still puts us $4,300 short of the max on this request. And so I just wanted to share that with people, and Xander and Todd, if you want to chime in on those funding amounts, if you think that's reasonable, or if you think that's not within the realm, please give me a heads up.
That sounds good at this time.
Okay.
For the watershed.
Amelia, Todd had to run out on a call, so I've been listening in, so I can't really speak for him, but it sounds like we're in support of the numbers you gave.
Okay, sweet. Dina, thank you for joining us. Does the tribe have interest in applying to the Title III RAC program, or sorry, Title III funding from Trinity County for any of their options for Firewise communities, or reimbursing for search and rescue or firefighting, or other training costs or equipment for emergency services, or implementing community wildfire protection plans?
we are interested. We don't have the capacity, so supporting our local fire safe council and the newly formed PBA, Prescribed Burn Association, would benefit us directly. They're already doing projects on our behalf. And we know that it's volunteer because we've been out there with them doing the projects. There's a request right now for 4 burns on South Fork Road, and there's more in the community. So any support you can give to the local efforts that are organizing heavily because of the Monument and Knob fires would benefit us. We're working with those 2 organizations.
Fantastic. Regina, so I think we discussed this a little bit before you hopped on, but essentially the Fire Safe Council was in support of providing a letter for you guys if you are able to put in an application for $10,000 to support your community chipping program and other Firewise activities.
It sounds great.
Carol, you may know better, but the other thing that I was thinking of that with Basho mentioning lack of capacity and changing roles is if one of the existing applicants wanted to, if we were able to subcontract to the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council, so if we included them either in the TCRCD or the Trinity Center VFD or one of the other asks, and then subcontracted that amount to them to help carry the load on the grant application. Do you see a benefit to that? What are the group's thoughts? Maybe Regina, you might have some input on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said put a placeholder and talk to Chris, because yeah, if the RCD can pick up what Willow Creek wants to do, then then we could add that to the RCD. But if Willow Creek wants to go ahead and pick up parts of it themselves, then I'm just waiting for them to refine what they want to do, and I just wanted to put that funds in there as a placeholder until we get a better idea of what they want, and who's the best way to do it, what's the best way to do it.
I think that some of our county roads that exist within Trinity County should be prioritized and possibly get assistance from what you're offering, like Salyer Heights, South Fork Road for sure. 13 years ago, RCD came through on South Fork and brushed 50 feet either side. It's just now really coming back thick, and maintenance is needed again. A lot of different spots within our jurisdiction goes all the way to Cedar Flat. And so that takes in, and we just would look for any help we can get. It is a great chipper program, limited amount of people. After this last year, we've definitely gained a lot of interest, physical bodies, and determination to get some stuff rolling on. Basho has been excellent within our community, starting the new PBA, which will collaborate with what we have going on, and I'm excited for our future. So to be recognized within Trinity County, our portion, fires are not going to stop at that county line, but we have some serious overbrushing on our, just thick on our county roads that really need to be addressed for ingress egress, and that will help within our WUI to do with our private residents, that we can all start whittling away at this brush, right up in our backyard, so we could help complement each other's efforts, and then we'll be ready for that next fire, hopefully.
I have a question. This is Dina Magdaleno. If, are you asking us to give you a written proposal, not only for the $10,000, but also for the RCD, the kinds of financial support we need? Is that what?
So Dina, there is a request for proposals from the county, which is funded by the Secure Rural Schools Title III allocation, and for $192,000. So at this meeting, we are discussing which entities associated with the Trinity County Fire Safe Council are interested in applying for funding and at what amount. So we are not requesting the proposals. We're discussing what each entity may propose for, getting support from the council, and then the entities themselves will apply for the funding to the county. The deadline for that is December 2nd by 4 p.m. And then at the December 21st Board of Supervisors meeting, they will discuss and approve the funding. And so this is actually for the 2019 and 2020 fiscal year allocations. So it's 2 years of funding put into one. That's why it's a bigger pot than usual.
The purpose also of sort of coordinating this for everybody that's not, that's kind of new to this process, is so that when we take, so that there isn't really any competition, you know, that there's not more asks that the supervisors have to sort of deliberate on. They'd rather see it coordinated so that when it comes to them, the total is what the total is, and they can just essentially, you know, like if they've got any specific questions, they can make those specific questions, but it's just to sort of facilitate and make it easier for them to just sort of say, this looks good, and we're going to fund all of these things at that level.
Thank you. That I was on the Humboldt County RAC for 6 years, and we had that difficulty. So this is really great. I like the model. Thank you.
Well, I think we have a really good proposal here. We've got a really great group of projects, and I think we're good. I'm comfortable leaving a little bit of wiggle room in that $4,300, only because I would anticipate that there may be some other asks, maybe from the animal rescue group that's supporting the wildfire response and supporting the sheriff's department, to maybe get some mileage or some reimbursements for them in this. And so I feel confident and comfortable leaving that $4,300 on the table, because I would anticipate there might be some other asks in there. How does everybody else feel?
Yeah, I mean, Amelia, I think you may get a request from Coffee Creek Volunteer Fire Department to replace some of the hoses and stuff that burned when they were fighting the river complex. So I think that's a qualifying expense. So I'll just check in with Coffee Creek and see if they're aware and if they're planning on submitting something. It wouldn't be much, but I do know they had some equipment damage, you know, during that fire. I don't know, did Weaverville have any? Serena, do you know if Todd would, or Junction City would request any reimbursement for firefighting?
No, I think we're pretty much concerned with our hazard reduction program. You know, we were really close to not even having it this year without this funding. So I think that's where we would concentrate our money and work on equipment through other grants that are available.
Okay.
But one thing that I think has happened in the past too is that, you know, funds that were either not allocated or that were sort of returned to the pot, oftentimes rolled over. So, you know, it's not like it's going to go disappear.
And so we should expect money in future years, but it's going to be less because this is 2 years worth of funding, and so we'll have potentially 3 more years worth of funding, but at a lower level.
Yeah, so this is again for 2019 and 2020. We may see 2021 come out, and then 2022 and potentially 2023. Okay. Well,
So,
oh, sorry, Carol, go ahead.
so, are you gonna draft the letters then for me to sign?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I will.
okay.
I will draft them tomorrow and then get to them, and then we can disperse them out to the different organizations. Basho or Blaze, until I have your emails, the only one I have is Regina's. So I would send it to her as my point of contact for right now. But if you get me those, then I'll just CC you all and you can all get the letter of support. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for participating today. Do we have any other closing comments for today's meeting?
I was just wondering for Basho and them for their like $10,000, is that going to be an issue for them to get that application just based on the board and like just the current situation they're in, or would it be better to just have that? Because I mean, I think it makes sense to me to stick that into the watershed or to ours, potentially the watershed, because they're working on in that area anyway under another grant, but they it just so they don't miss out because they can't do the application because of other circumstances.
We'll get the application banged out today by the end of the day.
Okay, excellent. I didn't want you guys to miss out on anything.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
And Amelia, their emails are in chat now.
Yep, I am grabbing them now. Fantastic. And Carol, you see the message to you. Okay. Thank you
Hey,
all.
just to make sure real quick, when you guys say adding money for Southern Trinity, you're talking Ruth, Mad River, Van Dusen, or what were the thoughts there? Those three areas.
Yeah. But I would,
Okay.
I would work with the Southern, the upcoming Southern Trinity Fire Safe Council, whenever they decide to fund themselves, and ask them for the priorities. They've got this much money this year, where do you want us to start? Let them start kicking in their insight as being the Fire Safe Council down there.
Yeah, do you know when they're meeting? Are they meeting monthly?
I haven't received any input on their meeting schedule as of right now. I can reach out and give you a heads up. I tried to post the table in the chat, but it didn't come out very cleanly. But just to rehash, since you weren't on earlier, Dylan, so we're looking for Weaverville Volunteer Fire Department, $50,000 for their hazard reduction funding. Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department, $2,700 for their Firewise community activities, as well with the community chipping day for Trinity Center area, focusing on new areas. Watershed Research Training Center, so you had about a $50,000 ask. We increased that into $75,000 to then expand into that Southern Trinity area. Trinity County RCD is looking at $50,000 for their defensible space, Firewise, and some first aid and CPR training. And then Willow Creek Fire Safe Council, $10,000 for their community chipping and Firewise program, which all sorts out to $187,700 in total from Fire Safe Council supported requests. We're going back to Southern Trinity, which requested $3,000 for their RT-130 to ask them if they're going to have that covered for free from CAL FIRE.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Thanks so much for your time, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and I'm really looking forward to having these conversations far into the future with you.
Yes,
Thank you. And we see that Regina put in the chat for a Willow Creek Fire Safe Council Community Firewise Fair and Youth Ecology Day for May 21st, 2022. So that sounds great. Regina, I won't be there, but I will ensure that somebody from our organization is able to support you.
Wonderful. It's been 2 years since we've had one. It's a great way for the communities to come together, trying to get all the different vendors that pertain to fire related stuff, prevention, suppression. And I really want to go with cultural burns and promote burning with our PBA. And we're trying to get our communities so that they're not afraid of fire and the understanding the benefits of it. So it's just a good all around family day expected. Kids, there should be the Little League Jamboree going on, so a lot of families will be coming through. So people from far and near, whoever can come is welcome.
That sounds great.
Thank you.
Well, thank
Thanks,
you
Mary Ann.
all.
I'm gonna jump off of here.
Yep. Have a great day.
Thank you all for the time.
You too.